is Chuck has been on the workforce board since 2006, and I got married in 2007, so I said I've had to deal with it longer than I've had to deal with my wife. So that's a good segue into, actually, before I start my remarks, I know we've been recognizing people, but some of the most important people in this room, people who we're referring our trainees to, I'm wondering if the business managers and training coordinators could stand up so that we could recognize you. Really, stand up if you're a business manager. Men and women are the ones who are actually prepping these guys, and men and women, and screening them, and making the whole thing happen. And all the efforts that you put in are pointless if you don't get to do the good work that you do. So thank you so much. I was joking about my wife, and Christmas is coming, and so she knows at Christmas time when the family's all at the house, I get out my DVD of my favorite version of A Christmas Carol, which happens to be one that was on TNT. It's got Patrick Stewart, who played Captain Picard on the Star Trek thing. It's almost verbatim for the book, Dickens' book. I love that version of it. And there's a line in there that I want to share with you. Young Ebenezer Scrooge works for a nice man named Fezziwig. And Mr. Fezziwig turns to Ebenezer and he says, "Ebenezer, when happiness knocks at your door, open it wide and give her a comfortable seat." I always love that line. I want to modify Dickens a little bit. What an ego I've got to modify Dickens. Opportunity is knocking at the door of Fresno and the great Central Valley, and we have to open that door wide and give her a comfortable seat. The value of the public infrastructure construction that has gone through and will be going through our valley, our residents do not understand the immense opportunity that is being afforded by that spending. So, you know, this is interesting, I can't see. So the first slide has a lot of pictures. Who's doing the slides for me? Somebody is from my staff. There you go. Can we get to this slide here? The one with the grid? Thanks. So, in 2009, the state was giving money to do industrial sector studies. And like everybody else, we got in line, we got together with our valley, the workforce boards in the valley, and we're doing all the regular sectors, logistics, manufacturing, healthcare. We had some leftover money. So I went to my colleagues, WIB directors in other counties, and I said, can we ask the company to try to put a value on the public infrastructure construction that's going to be in the valley? In the 8-county region that goes from San Joaquin in the north to Kern in the south. And they said, sure, it's like an add-on. So we had a hired company, Applied Development Economics, out of Monterey, a very qualified company. And I said, can you evaluate public infrastructure construction? So that's all public, we just have to, aggregate data from different sources. And a report they issued that went from 2010 to 2020, independent of high-speed rail at that time, they identified $32 billion of approved public infrastructure construction in the valley. Not a maybe, in the pipeline, it's going to happen. And a lot of times we can't see that because it's getting shaved this much to the school district, this much through Caltrans. We were gobsmacked. In fact, Chuck and I, for a number of years, did presentations. We called it the hidden sector. How do you have that much work happening in the valley and nobody's focused on it? So last year we went back to Applied Development Economics, and the graph that you see, which is probably hard to read, and they did the study from 2021, this year, through 2031. I want to say up front, this study does not include the infrastructure money that will flow to the valley through the legislation that President Biden just signed. This figure does not include the hundreds of millions of dollars of canal repair work that is going to get approved in the next legislative cycle at the state. This dollar value does not include PG&E's proposal at a cost to all of us, initially they're saying of $15 billion, to bury 10,000 miles of utility cables in the valley and up the mountain. Independent of all those costs, if you look at the lower right corner, the 2021 to 2031 study identifies $47 billion in approved public infrastructure construction that's going to happen in the valley. We, as a community, for our residents who don't have the jobs that they want, we have got to grab onto this opportunity with both hands and not let go. We have got to get our local residents trained to take these jobs. And thank God we have partnerships with the Fresno Madera Kings Tulare Building Trades Council, and now through the Valley Build Consortium with San Joaquin Alpine Building Trades, with Stanislaus Merced, and with Kernan Yamano. So all 4 building trades councils that are in the valley and up in the mountains are now following this model, this Valley Build model, in order to train local residents. This is an opportunity that we're not going to let pass, and we absolutely have to get. The union people who are in the hall, in the building, you know that if we do not have qualified human capital to become your apprentices, to be sent out on these jobs, workers will be imported from other areas into our area to take them. And there's just something very untoward about thinking that we have these areas of high unemployment and we're going to import workers to take these jobs. We're really going to get these people ready. That's what I'd like to focus on next. The next slide. Valley Build is only possible because of a 3-part partnership. And preeminent, the jewel and the tiara, are you all from organized labor in the building trades councils, your affiliates. You are the kind of keepers of keys in the sense that you're controlling a quality training program that gives people admittance to these good middle-class jobs to the extent that they perform. It is a competition, isn't it? Workforce development boards have a role to play, like our workforce development board. It's our job to screen individuals for this training that not only meet the criteria to be trained, but who meet the ultimate criteria to be accepted by you all as apprentices. And so we and some of our colleagues up and down the valley are in the process of doing that. And then in order, and I thought Councilman Carbasi was really spot on when he said it, in order that we can assure equality of opportunity for admittance into these programs, we have to have partnerships with various community groups in order to make that happen. I should mention too that we're in the midst of preparing an equity study with assistance from the Rios County to try to identify barriers that people feel, either real or perceived, into getting into the trades. We're committed that whomever is willing to put in the work, question of volition of will, whoever is willing to actually do the work be given the opportunity and then to get the reward at the end of it. But those are the 3 dance partners that we have to have. And then what do we do? This slide. You guys are probably not already there. What is the Valley Build program? Initially, it was, as Chuck and other speakers have mentioned, the MC3 Apprenticeship Readiness Program. 6 weeks of training, specifically training being offered from the building trades unions, assisting on a community project for work-based learning opportunities and getting industry-recognized certifications. What we came to see, though, early on, 2 minutes, I'll be done under that. What we came to see early on is that we had many qualified trainees who were close, but they weren't quite there to get into our MC3 program. And the 2 main barriers that we were seeing were math skills. I haven't been in a math class in like 30 years. I wouldn't want to take an algebra test right now. Construction math skills and vocational ESL for the construction industry. And so, with a grant from the State of California Workforce Development Board, Tim, where are you? There you are. Oh, thank you for the money. Across the 14-county region, that's the Valley and up in the Mother Lode, it's covered by our 4 building trades councils. We have started offering preparatory math and English classes for people who intend on applying to the MC3 training. And as happens in most instances, we've started it off here in Fresno with our partners from Fresno State College. I know we have some big wigs from Fresno State College in the corner, but more importantly, the math instructor herself is here. English. That's just as important. Our English instructor is here. So we're so happy that you're here, and we just literally started this. I think we're up to our 3rd round of classes, and we're going to get it honed here in Fresno, and then we'll expand it to the other parts of the valley. It's important that we, as I mentioned, that we recognize the opportunities being provided by the construction work. There have been different dates that have been mentioned. The Valley Build Partnership has been around for 8 years. Our partnership with the Building Trades Council is from 2006, and in January we will be starting our 34th cohort of trainees. Those are individuals that we can point to, and some of them are going to come up right now, so you don't have to listen to me anymore to talk about their experience. I'm going to say, though, of those 34 cohorts, 3 of them were federally funded, but other than that, the remainder were funded by the state, by various governors, by the state workforce board, by competitive grants that we competed for. So it's not blowing sunshine up your ear. To say that without that money, we would not have been able to do this work at that time. So thank you. All right, so now you get to hear. Yeah. Okay. Okay. No, are the graduates coming up? No, not yet. Okay. Thank you.